Who carried who home?
Uh, So what's been going on with you?
The same home. Just getting my stuff together to drop the mooring in a few weeks. Easter's coming fast.
It is, as they say, right around the corner.
Yeah, 2 weeks away. It's early this year. It's on the 5th.
And is it the fifth?
Yeah, the 5th.
That is quick.
Well, folks, I hate to break this up, but we've made it to 6 o'clock. It is March 18th, 2026. The time is 6:01, and I hereby call this meeting to order. We want to keep things on schedule so that Senator Crichton can continue to do his good work once he gives us his presentation. So let's see. The winter parking ban is still in effect for 2 more days. No vehicles can be parked on the street during that time. And if you need a winter parking pass, please contact the Nahant Police Department. We have a Wish Upon a Wave, a polar plunge scheduled for Sunday, March 22nd at 12 p.m. at Short Beach. And we also have a Swim Spring Beaches cleanup on Sunday, April 12th from 11 to 2 p.m., 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Short Beach and Doggy Beach. Both events are open and free to the public, and anyone may join. Bags will be distributed for the beach cleanup, and we strongly suggest you bring gloves. The 2026 annual town census has been mailed to residents. Resident parking stickers will not be approved without a completed census. For more information, contact the town clerk. Speaking of resident parking stickers, they are now available online at City Hall Systems. Stickers purchased now through June 30th will cost $15. Beginning July 1st, there is a $5 late fee, bringing the total cost to $20 per sticker. For questions, please contact the parking clerk or see the frequently asked questions available at nahant.org. The annual dog licenses are due back to the town clerk by April 1st, 2026. Any licenses submitted after April 1st will be charged a $20 late fee. The Charles Kelly Scholarship applications are due by April 10th, 2026. Visit the scholarships page at nahant.org for how to apply and for more available scholarships. The annual town election is Saturday, April 25th, 2026. Election polling hours will be from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Nahant Town Hall. For more information and early voting hours, contact the town clerk or visit the town election page at nahant.org. The annual town meeting is Saturday, May 16th, 2026, beginning at 12:30 p.m. at Nahant Town Hall. For more information, contact the town clerk. And that brings us to State Senator Brendan Crichton, and he's going to be talking to us about micro-mobility vehicles, a term that I'm not familiar with, but it sounds all-encompassing. Good evening, Senator Crichton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the Select Board, a number of town officials here. Thank you to Allison as well for helping us set up, and to everyone joining or watching remotely. Yeah, micromobility is not something I ran for office on a decade ago, but something that's increasingly become a big part of all of our lives, for better or for worse. So we're gonna do a quick PowerPoint, and we've tried to condense it just to be respectful of people's times. I can certainly dive more into the details with follow-up meetings, and I'm happy to answer questions as well. So first, thank you again for inviting me to speak here today. Representative Sean Reed, who I work closely with on all issues, including transportation issues, is in the House right now debating, I think, 450 amendments to a budget or sub-budget bill. So he sends his best, and we'll continue, certainly bring back the feedback to him as well. So I think this is slide one? We could go to the next slide, please. And I appreciate whoever is controlling this. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, so this is very helpful.
Me controlling it, so if I mess up, just yell at me.
I'll just great. I'll just say slide, and hopefully it doesn't sound rude when I say that. Okay.
Sounds good.
Obviously we're throughout the Commonwealth, it doesn't matter where you live, we're seeing larger and faster vehicles. We've all had experience either as motorists or pedestrians, or as owners of bikes and scooters ourselves. We're seeing larger and faster vehicles hitting the streets all the time, and a current system of regulations at the state level that is neither universal nor adaptable to these new vehicles. The lack of clear regulatory structure makes it really difficult for law enforcement to do anything at all well, I shouldn't say to do anything. It makes it difficult to, for enforcement and also to promote the safe use of these devices. Slide, please. So we've started to take action. This was a few years ago when this issue first started coming up, and lawmakers would add in residents and local officials raise concerns around this. I work closely with a state senator who has a lot of experience in this space, Senator Will Brownsberger, who had filed legislation trying to take a deeper dive, create a commission of sorts. I was able to sponsor an amendment that was passed a few years ago into law that would establish the Micromobility Commission. And in 2025, the governor convened our commission, which had a wide range of stakeholders, folks with public safety, folks within the industry, riders, a wide range of stakeholders. So we were tasked with, studying this issue over the course of a year and publishing its findings, which just recently our report was finalized and is available for the public. I can certainly get that over to any interested parties that want to take a deeper dive. And the commission, reviewed existing laws on the issue. We tried to develop framework for a universal and adaptable system of vehicle regulation. And we considered other ideas to regulate and also safely accommodate these types of vehicles. So as I said, the final commission report is out. And now that work, oh, sorry, slide, please. Now that work is out, we expect legislation to be filed in the coming weeks. It's kind of late in our 2-year session, but I think all the work that we did throughout the commission and the work that we're doing to try to build a consensus around some of these issues as the bill is finalized, it will then, once filed, go before a committee. I believe it'll go before the committee of which I am the Senate chair of, the Joint Committee on Transportation, hopefully soon. Certainly, if folks are interested in weighing in on that legislation once it's filed, or want to participate in the public hearing or submit testimony, anything at all, you can come to the State House, you can join remotely, you can send a letter, you can talk directly to me, but there's plenty of opportunity for public feedback, and we want to get all stakeholders there. So yeah, why don't we go next slide, please? So the regulatory framework, and again, this is a proposal, and this is kind of the start of the legislative process, but the framework we're considering includes 4 tiered categories, and it's based on vehicle speed, as you can see on the PowerPoint. This would allow the framework to be universal for all vehicles that are currently available, but also adaptable for any new vehicles that hit the market. I mean, we're seeing all types of vehicles. It's almost out of a sci-fi movie sometimes when you're driving or walking down the street. And certainly as these vehicles become cheaper and more accessible, we're going to see more and more. And we wanted to create a framework that wouldn't have to be adjusted in law every time we see a new vehicle, but rather could be adaptable longer term. So you can see there are similar types of vehicles that get placed in different tiers. I think the important thing to remember is that each tier is based on the top speed of the vehicles. So vehicles may be categorized differently, even if they have other similarities, but the speed was really, I think the most impact on safety, and the consensus that we built as a commission was to focus on speed rather than other categories or framework. So the framework would then be applied to various safety requirements. So think of the vehicle we're going to apply to, the user, and then where people can go. So it's kind of a 4-tiered system of breaking it down, but then kind of 3 separate chunks of how these vehicles can be operated, what types of vehicles, and where they can go. So kind of the what, the who, and the where. Next slide, please. Oh, so this is an old PowerPoint presentation. Sorry. So So that's just kind of gives you a visual effect there. A bike shop owner told me at some point that some of this wasn't 100% accurate. So let's just move on and forget we ever saw that slide. It's pretty accurate. It's just one of the vehicles I think it was in. Anyway, so this is an important chart just to take a look at to kind of get a sense of the vehicle requirements. And as you can see, as you increase speed, you're going to have more requirements for the vehicle, whether it's a speedometer, turn signals, lights, some of the other modifications, maybe a little bit less to do with safety, but more just on the categories. And then if you go to the next slide, please. So that was the what with the vehicle. And now the operational requirements, kind of how I think of the who. So we hear all the time from folks concerned about younger riders. As you can see here, we tried to apply standards that for the vehicles that are operated at the same speed as a bicycle you see today, kind of have those same requirements. You see the helmet there, but as you get faster vehicles, we have more requirements. So you'd have to be over 16 years old to ride the class 3 bikes. And you can kind of, I don't want to go through each section there, but you can see the different requirements. And as speeds increase, there are additional requirements. The state micro ID decal is a pilot program that we're interested in doing, in that sometimes you look at the vehicles and you have no idea, what they may be. They could look really similar and be completely different tiers or categories. So trying to work with the system so that, a member of law enforcement or a parent or whoever can identify clearly on these vehicles what class and what they actually are, and not just, base it on just, glancing or looking at the vehicle, because it's really easy, as you saw our previous slide with the bikes, to miscategorize these based just on sight and not being experts in the field. And I should say too, again, these are all just recommendations. They need to go through a public process and a hearing and to be fine-tuned. So all of this could change, but it's kind of a good starting framework. Next slide, please. And then this is the where. Similar idea as you get faster, more restrictions in this instance where you're able to ride your vehicles. And again, a proposal here, as with all of the issues with these, and enforcement is really challenging. And we did have a member of the police chiefs as a commission member, the police chief of Beverly, who was there and certainly wanted to keep an open door with law enforcement and first responders and all public safety officials to make sure that whether it's the who, the what, the where, that we're getting this as close to right as we can. Next slide, please. And so I don't want to repeat this here. It's just this is a great opportunity, I think, for us to take the hard work of this commission, again, getting outreach from the experts in this space and in public safety, putting together a piece of legislation, working with the governor and our legislators, and then hearing from the public at large. And this won't be the final micromobility bill or policy moved forward, but I hope it is a strong framework to at least provide clarity in some regulations. Right now, realistically, there are very few vehicles that are under state law. It's the Wild West, and it makes it incredibly hard, whether you're a parent, whether you're a public safety official, whether you're just walking down the street. We really need to get this done, and I hope we can build a consensus on it. And thank you again. Sorry, hopefully it wasn't too long-winded. I know you have a number of other items to take up tonight as well. But open up for questions or whatever the chair and select board thinks is appropriate at this time.
Yes, Sean, if I could, Gene Canty, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Good thing. Who controls speed? Signage as it does now for regular gas engines?
So for the roadway, for those that are allowed on roadways or that are restricted to roadways, yes, that would be there. I'm joined by Alex, my legislative director as well, who was very active in this. Alex, am I correct with if it's a trail or an off-road thing, municipalities are able to set speed limits?
Yeah, so it's that's for the most part right. If it's a municipally owned or municipally operated through contract trail, then a municipality has the ability to implement things like speed limits and control that. For the exception, and this is something we run into a lot, is with trails operated by DCR, the Department of Conservation and Recreation. That is a state department, so that is controlled by the speed limits would be controlled by the state if those were to be implemented. So again, a lot of it just depends on what jurisdiction is directly in charge of maintaining and operating the right of way.
Thank you.
I should mention too, I see Representative Reed may have, or maybe he was trying to get on. Oh, there he is. Representatives joining us from the House of Representatives, where I'm sure you got a ton of money for the district.
Still in. We don't know anything yet. We're trying, but sorry I'm late, and I'm gonna have to hop on. But I just wanted to say hi, and I know you're the expert on this anyway, Senator. So
I'm not, but I appreciate that. We just did the presentation, which I know you're familiar with, and just taking questions and having a discussion now.
thank you.
And welcome, Representative Reed. Very happy that you were able to join us.
Nice to see
And
you.
my old LD and my new LD here. It's one big family at the State House. So, all right, sorry. Other thoughts or questions?
Selectmen?
Oh, I think it's good. It's nice to see the rules being kind of made more uniform. I know we got a e-scooter and for my son, and he's under 16, and the rules changed, or we got confused. I know the rules between e-bikes and e-scooters were different, so now it's good to see they're being tiered by a speed. And good news, I think his scooters looks like it'll be legal for him to ride again soon.
Well, that's the thing, right? So it's recognizing. I think we hear most from, typically that's as I'm sure you do as well on the select board. You hear from folks that are upset or frustrated or angry about lack of policies or structures in place that are leading to kind of chaos and not full on understanding it. So it's important that we get the the public safety piece right and recognizing that there needs to be certain restrictions, but also these vehicles can really provide a valuable mode of transportation for younger folks in a safe way to get to and from school at a certain age, depending on the vehicle. Also, the first and last mile to connect folks to transit. Obviously, recreationally, they're used certainly now in the ever changing gig economy. They're in more denser places like for deliveries. They are flying around all the time. So I think getting these rules in place won't change it overnight, but certainly could start to get to a more a safer but also accessible environment. And this is something also I should have said too, that around the country, communities and jurisdictions are really struggling with. So we're not falling behind here. And I think if we were able to get this in place, this could be looked at as a model for other states as well.
Yeah, and very helpful for parents to be able to see, yes, this is something I can buy for my child. No, this is not something I can put under the tree for Christmas.
Yeah, I came home one day and my in-laws are the cheapest babysitters we can ever get, so I don't want to call them out, but my son was flying up and down the street on this motorized thing. I don't know what class it was, but it was going faster than I liked. And for some reason, despite he will always wear his bike on his helmet when he rides his bike, in this instance, he decided he was not wearing a helmet. So it kind of really woke me up to how, the education piece, and certainly, a lot of parents don't think of it any differently than a bike, but the damage, as we've sadly seen, and the injuries we've seen, certainly speak to the need for education, which the commission also calls. So these are the recommendations that I laid out to you, or what I think will be the base framework for a bill. There are a number of other recommendations too that go a little further, that may not be decided through legislation, but would be providing resources in for communities, for education for communities, as in technical assistance, as well as working with public safety to get the word out.
I can imagine there must be some discussion as far as these vehicles that have been altered by their operators. They may start out as a 0 or a 1, and all of a sudden they're up in the 2 or 3 category. Has there been any discussion there as far as
It was definitely discussed, and it's done far easier than you'd like to think. Alex, I don't know if if in any of the recommendations we address that or more kind of left that as something to, I mean, obviously if it's the vehicle's altered, it would no longer, be in a lower framework if it's going faster. But do you remember if we had recommendations there or if it was to be
Yeah,
continued? It's
yeah,
hard
no,
to.
absolutely. No, that's a really good question. So we didn't include recommendations specifically on vehicle alterations. I think part of the rash is that, part of the reason that alterations are such a consistent concern is just because we haven't got a universal and adaptable framework to categorize and regulate these vehicles. So the idea of actually setting up that universal framework that puts everything under an umbrella should make it easier for us to identify, legally where do these vehicles stand, and then again, if you saw the various charts about vehicle requirements, if those alterations are putting the vehicle in, making the vehicle more dangerous or going against what we include in the law, that should also catch a lot of those instances. So I think, the thinking of the commission generally was by standardizing how we define these vehicles, that's going to catch a lot of instances where, especially the ones where the alterations are making them a lot less safe. But again, that's definitely something that was a point of conversation, and I'm sure that's going to be the topic of future discussions, whether that's legislative or, more on the regulatory side with MassDOT.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an important point because there are going to, I mean, I don't call them bad actors, but there'll be people that, it's going to be a problem, ongoing problem. So certainly, committed to working with you and looking at with law enforcement and other folks, looking at ways that we can actually hold folks accountable to moving forward.
Okay, now that sounds good. I obviously we're all concerned with the users and keeping them safe, especially the younger users. And at the same time, I have to say I feel some sympathy towards law enforcement and their ability to bring this under control if necessary, and can only imagine if they're on a type two vehicle and you see them going 40 miles per hour, the challenges one must be having in trying to bring that under control, that situation under control.
I don't know if this was mentioned, but even we had the police chief's breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and they, only have so many issues they talk about, and this was one of the biggest priorities they discussed at the police chief. So I think it's a tough road for them too. So
Got a long
That's
way
a great
to go.
point, Sean. One thing we had the governor in Lynn a couple months ago, and the Secretary of Public Safety, every chief from Boston, every DA, like it was a room full of public safety all-stars. And then I'm there and I'm feeling very ill-equipped. And immediately, like they're talking high-level crime stuff, which, I'm learning about just sitting there. And then quickly someone brought up this issue and it's all they wanted to talk. I mean, obviously they have a lot of other things to deal with, but it really made me realize that it's across all jurisdictions, cities, town, I mean, you name it, and that everyone kind of is, fed up with the status quo, which is again the Wild West and no rules. So anyways, I appreciate Mr. Chairman. If there's no other questions, I'll let you get back to your regularly scheduled program.
No, we appreciate that. And we very much appreciate your coming along with Representative Reed to talk to this subject. It's obviously summer's coming. We will see more and more of it. And once again, the safety of the general public is always our concern. And I'm glad to hear that we are all glad to hear that you folks are taking a hard look at this and working directly with law enforcement.
Thank you. And please, if anyone has questions, call our office. And if you're interested in weighing in once the bill is filed, please let us know as well. We'd love to have you and help connect you. And thanks again for the time.
I'll drop my
Outstanding.
email in the text in the chat so people can reach out if they have follow-up questions.
Thanks, Alex.
Good news.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
well, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Chair.
you.
All right. We will move on then to a joint meeting with the planning board. I know that we have members of the planning board on with us now. I believe we,
So Rob, they're having a meeting downstairs and it looks like they've set up the conference room to meet, but they're not in there yet.
oh,
So
there you go.
do you want me to go run down and see if they're ready to meet, or how do you want to proceed?
We saw them setting up earlier.
I know. I think so. They're also holding their own meeting in the other conference room. And then they were going to recess to join the board's meeting. I'm happy to run down and see if they're ready, or if you want to take something out of order.
Yeah, let's do that. Maybe they're planning right at 6:30, thinking about joining us. So
Okay.
we could let's see. Planning board. Moving down the line here. No, you're not doing Jeff Lewis. Why not?
All right. Do you want to go ahead and approve the event request?
That's a good idea. I was jumping down to the town finance director, but event requests are good. Let's see. Planning board, motion nominate, appoint. Oh, there it is. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the event request for the annual PTO Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 4th, 2026, beginning at 11 a.m. at Flash Road Park. Do I have a second?
Second,
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Pat O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Thibault, aye.
Sorry, before we proceed, I just want Dan to weigh in. Do they need to vote to take these agenda items out of order? Or is it okay that we're doing it this way?
No, it's the chair's discretion.
Discretion? Okay, I
as
just
the,
want to be
leader of
sure.
the meeting to take out order. Yeah, not a problem.
Thank you.
I have so much power.
It's true.
Yes, you do.
Let's see. Let's go to item E, vote to approve early voting hours for annual town election. And I will move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the early voting schedule for the annual town election on April 25th, 2026 to be as follows. Wednesday, April 15th, 2026 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday, April 22nd, 2026 through Thursday, April 24th, 2026 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Nahant Town Hall. Do I have a second?
Second,
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Pat O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Thibault, aye. Motion carries.
Rob,
Yes.
it's Diane. I just wanted to clarify, for anyone that's listening that is school-age children, you did already vote on it. We added the Wednesday before school vacation. So that's the difference in the vote for anybody who is going to be away the week of school vacation. They can come in and vote early on that Wednesday. I believe it's the 15th. And they can also come in any day and sign up for an absentee ballot that we can send to their home if they're not going to be here on election day.
Okay. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Diane,
Yeah,
did we at one time have the elections and the voting on the same day?
yes. For years.
I just thought so.
Yeah. And the reason they separated was twofold, really. First, the ADA requirements, we weren't meeting them up in the town hall in the main hall because the election was up on the stage and the meeting was taking place front stage and then through the building. So it was moved down to the Council on Aging. The problem with that, it being on the same day, was that anybody who was working the polls or voting was missing out on the town meeting. So that's why they decided to separate the two.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, it looks like the planning board's coming back in, Allison.
Yes, it does. They're starting to file in.
Yes. And there's members that'll be coming in via Zoom. Besides us who are present.
Okay, Sheila, so you have a quorum?
I do.
You do have a quorum. Okay. Very good.
Hey, Rob, did you actually vote on that
Just
last,
wanted
did you
to
actually vote on that last motion?
Rob Steinberg is coming in on Zoom. He was not here personally. There are 3 members here personally. And we're waiting for Rob. He's our 4th one to make our quorum.
Okay, I thought we did vote that, did we?
We did.
I think you did too. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Come on, Dan, I have a hard enough time.
I gotta throw a curveball once in a while. Come on out, keep you hot.
Okay, moving back to the planning board. Let's see, we have a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board, and I believe that we need a motion that for Selectmen to open the special joint meeting with the Nahant Planning Board.
So moved.
So moved. We have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Todd O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye. And Sheila?
And Sheila Hambleton is here. And I will call the roll to open with the planning board. Anne Marie Grady. Here. Tom Hambleton.
Here.
Rob Steinberg.
That could be subverting against the link.
Is Rob in? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right,
here.
perfect. Rob Steinberg, Sheila Hambleton is here, and we have a quorum. Thank you. Thank you very much for this joint meeting, Rob, and the rest of the selectmen.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. So I'll make a motion to nominate. I move the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board vote to nominate Scott Kirkland to be an alternate member of the Planning Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Planning Board and/or Selectmen.
I'm very happy that we're here this evening to make this appointment for Scott Kirkland. He's been trying to be a member of our board for, I think, over a year. So this is his chance. Thank you.
Okay, Selectmen will take a roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Todd O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye. And now the Planning Board.
Yep, and I'll take the roll call vote for the planning board, and that is Anne Marie Grady. Yes. Tom Hambleton.
Yes.
And Rob Steinberg.
Is a yes.
And Sheila Hambleton is a yes. So it appears that we have a unanimous vote in favor.
Okay, and now I'll make a motion to appoint. I move the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board vote to appoint Scott Kirkland as an alternate member of the Planning Board effective March 18th, 2026, with a term expiring June 30th, 2027. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Selectmen or Planning Board? Okay, roll call vote for Selectmen.
Gene Canty, aye.
Todd O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye. Motion carries for Selectmen, and go ahead, Sheila.
Okay, and I will take the roll call vote for the planning board, and that is Anne Marie Grady. Yes. I have Tom Hambleton.
Yes.
And Rob Steinberg.
Yes.
And Sheila Hambleton is a yes.
Okay, very good. Well, that makes it official, Scott. Thank you for joining the Planning Board.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I
And
will
now I'm
move-
gonna vote to recess from your
No, I thought you were going to talk about the changes.
oh yes, we have the
Okay, hold on.
wireless
Hold on just for a second.
Telecommunications.
Hold on just for a second. Oh, okay, yeah, we can keep going. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I have already a article that I will be giving to Allison. Dan Scripp, our town council, has reviewed it. We have a consultant that's helped prepare also. So we're going to send that off tomorrow to you and Allison and town council. And I also have the public meeting notice all ready to go. That will be sent to the item tomorrow. And the first posting will be March 24th. The second posting will be March 31st for the public hearing on April the 7th, 2026. And hopefully then we will have our report ready and we can submit it to the finance committee. And I don't know if they would like to meet with us in between all of that or when, but we'd be willing to do that.
So to be clear, Sheila, the language that you had sent me for the warrant article is not finalized yet. You're sending me the final version tomorrow?
I am. I'm sending you the final version tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep.
Because in a later agenda item, the board is opening and closing the warrant, and I had included the former language in there, but I guess we won't approve that today. We'll wait until a following meeting.
Is that okay with you? And
Yeah, so I guess when would it come? If you get it tomorrow, we can open and close the warrant. Again, their next meeting is on April 1st. So that's okay with me.
That's a Tuesday, right? April 1st?
No, it's a Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday. Okay. All right. And that's enough time for them also?
Yeah, so Dan, can you weigh in on the process for this? So
Yeah.
in order to get on the warrant, obviously the Board of Selectmen have to vote, but in terms of the draft bylaw, does the planning board have to approve it and then it goes to the board, they approve it? What's the
Well,
process?
this is a zoning situation. So they create a draft because I think it's going to be their article, right? So they create a draft, send it to the selectmen, send it back. But once that is done, the draft is set in stone, and it's their responsibility to hold a hearing and then produce a recommendation for town meeting. So waiting until the April 1st to add in what they're going to give to the selectmen tomorrow or the next day is fine. Not a problem at all.
Okay.
Hey, I can't, my video is busted. Can you guys see me by any chance?
Yes, we can see you.
Okay, I might jump off and come back on. So just know that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that sounds good, Allison, and just making sure that we're timely on everything. And then it makes, the printer and, the fine doesn't, hinder the finance committee at all.
So I did give the board a draft of the changes to the bylaw. Do you want to give a high level overview to them?
Yes, the overview would be that we have a whole new section, 13.8. It's the very last section. It talks about maximum permissible exposure limits of radio frequencies, what the limits are. We did some editing. We have wireless communications facilities, but we've changed it so that meets the FCC language. Telecommunications. We did a little spell check. And what else did we?
We defined the maximum permissible exposure.
Yeah, we did.
Source.
Yeah, we changed some definitions.
Yeah.
We added what the FCC was in definitions.
And we asked that if there are going to be conditions for the carriers to send us reports every 2 years, then we ought to make a statement that there could be some penalties if they don't report every 2 years, such as fines, or it might even affect their permit.
Right. And also consultant fees, $5,000 is not enough, and who pays for that is the actual applicant. So that's not a sufficient amount, so we've made changes in the language for the consultant fees. That's really about it. And we got the MPE report just an hour or two ago, so I did do a little summary, but I'll give that to Allison and to you all tomorrow. So it'll be a complete package.
Okay. That sounds good, Sheila. I had a chance to look through what you've sent us thus far, and there's a lot of work evident there. I'm really glad to see you're tightening up the regulations as far as the cell tower is concerned.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, there's always something, and I'm not really keen on all the electromagnetic frequencies and radio waves, so it's a
Well,
new
it's important that we get it right.
Yeah.
Questions, comments from selectmen?
I have none.
Hearing none, seeing none. Okay, Sheila, you're all set with your presentation?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, then, let's see, I'll move to close the joint session with the Nahant Planning Board. Do I have a second?
Second,
Could I just ask one question? I know Jeff Lewis was going to discuss something.
It's not included, it's not part of the planning board.
Okay,
Mhm.
but will the planning board be,
We're going back to our meeting. We're in recess right now.
okay,
Yeah, Jeff is on Zoom.
okay.
Okay, so let's see, we have a second discussion and roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Todd O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibble, aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much again, Nahant Planning Board.
Okay, and I would like to have someone make a motion that we close our joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Tom Hamilton, seconded.
And
I'll second.
Marie Brady, then I'll take the roll call vote. Any discussion though? Any objections? No, okay, roll call vote. Anne Marie Grady,
yes.
Tom Hamilton,
Yes.
Rob Steinberg,
Yes.
and Sheila Hamilton is a yes. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you very, very much, and I know you've got our alternate member, Jeff Lewis, so he's gonna be there. He abandoned us tonight, but you'll have him tonight to talk about the Affordable Trust, and he's been a great alternate member for our board. Thank you.
We will try not to keep him too long.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Okay, let's see, under new business, we have a discussion regarding a town meeting warrant article regarding the possibility of an affordable housing trust. And over to you, Mr. Lewis.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can see you
And
also.
if my voice is crackly, I'll try to go slow. I've been working a side gig here, planning board. I think that educating the public on the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund, I think is a worthwhile issue, and I've been working from the social side, trying to put together an education to the general public of the town of Nahant. And since February 13th, I started a series of posts on Facebook, the Nahant Residents Facebook. And as I understand it, in order to be a member of the Nahant Residents Facebook, you have to be a resident of Nahant. So it seemed to me to be the perfect venue for putting this information out. Being a rookie at this, we decided at the beginning to put out 3 posts because there were 3 documents that were required in order to bring an article to the town meeting and vote on it. The first one is the warrant article. The second document is the actual state statute, Chapter 44B, 55C. And the third one is the town bylaw, which, if I'm correct, is, well, I don't have the number. Article XX1V. So the first post was on the warrant article. Learned something important about it. We had 31 comments. None of them were negative. They were all positive. The reactions, again, no negatives, a lot of thumbs up. What stunned me was a week went by after we put out that post, and Facebook notified us that there were over 1,000 views that were recorded by the general public. They neither commented nor did they give a reaction, and yet it was obvious that they were in fact reading the posts. The second post we published was Chapter 44B, Section 55C, which is the state statute for the Municipal Housing Trust Fund. We didn't get as many comments, nor did we get as many reactions. But again, I was notified by Facebook that we had over 1,000 views. If I'm interpreting that number correctly, we have about 1,750 households in the town of Nahant. That means that about 60% or better of the households are viewing this information post, and they're not reacting negatively. It's a lot of positive reaction. I wrote a third post that didn't really have anything to do with it, thanking everybody for the fact that they were watching, reading, commenting. It was helping a great deal. And shortly after that, I put up the fourth post, which was the proposed Nahant bylaw. Wasn't ironed out. It was just the first iteration. We put it out, and that solicited the most response. It was very educational. And again, I got notified by Facebook on the last two that they also received over 1,000 posts. So if the data is accurate, the people in Nahant are educating themselves on this issue. So that's where we are. Last Thursday, we met, Allison, Dan, and I, with a Shelley, I keep on forgetting her last name.
Shelley Gearing. Yep.
The head of the Mass Housing Authority, to get a lot of answers answered. We haven't had the opportunity to meet as a group and discuss what our next step is. I put together a fourth post that I've shared with Allison. But before I put it out, I want to sit down as a group, meet and figure out what's where we're going from here. So I think with that, that's where we stand right now. It's reviewing the bylaw. And Allison, do you want to take over from this point, or?
No, I mean, I think that's good.
As
So
far as,
yep.
at this point, that's all I'm involved in.
Yep.
Nothing else has been finalized yet.
So I think what we're trying to work out right now, I think we've determined that establishing an affordable housing trust in town is desirable. And, you know, that's something that you have to have a town meeting vote on. So that's what the warrant article is. And then there's establishing, you know, a bylaw to determine who serves on the trust, the purpose of the trust, and things like that. And I think at this point, we're trying to decide if we are going to do both simultaneously right now, or if we want the town to vote to establish a trust and then come up with the bylaws over some period of time. So that's what we're formulating right now.
In simple terms, what is the trust?
In simple terms, it's a financial vehicle to raise funds from non-traditional sources to address the issue of affordable housing.
Address those issues in what way, Jeff?
Well, first of all, it's a municipal agency. It's not some trust that doesn't have a purpose. It's there for a single purpose of addressing affordable housing at the municipal level. And it can tap into there's the way the state wrote the statute, it virtually took the limit off of where you can get your funds from. I found that very appealing, that we could go to non-traditional sources to address an issue that right now is not being addressed. So I see us as investing money or spending money on something that we have no control over. This is designed to give the town control over affordable housing in this town, from its funding sources and to how it wants to do that. We don't have all the answers yet of how we want to do it because it's complex. But we've got some great feedback that we can incorporate into our thinking. Stop me anytime, Gene, if I'm answering your question.
No, you're right, spot on. It's amazing that you've gotten yourself this deep into it.
Gene, let me add one thing to that. Let me add one thing. It's not just affordable housing; it's also moderate income as well. And don't mistake this for the housing authority. They're completely separate. They're unrelated. The trust can do two things. It can raise capital, most popularly through the CPC process, and or it can hold property. One or two of those things. It has its own account. It cannot draw from the general fund on its own. And it just basically, as Jeff said, is an avenue through which a local body can help with moderate and low income or affordable. I want to stay away from affordable because it's not really that sort of thing. It's low income and moderate income, and it's really just there to help folks, get some housing and whatnot.
So can it raise funds and acquire properties?
Yeah. If we want it to, which it will be the power within the bylaws that we provide to it. There are two main arms: fundraising and owning property, and then selling it off or using it for some low, moderate income housing purpose.
Yeah. That's awesome.
As some degree of clarification here, the trust would give the town of Nahant a degree of agility that in addressing issues that it doesn't currently have, and it is pointed directly at the Nahant residents, unlike the Housing Association, which is a state-run operation, and basically anyone can apply to access our housing. I have 4 questions here that I think help clarify things as far as what the trust could address that we really can't get at in our current environment. Those questions would be: can our children afford to remain in or return to the community as they start their own households? I hear that one a lot. The cost of housing has gone up dramatically. So can they? Well, the trust could potentially help them. Can those who provide essential services in the community afford to live here? Once again, a huge challenge. The trust could help with that situation. Are special needs populations given adequate housing options? I don't think we have anything to address it now, but a trust could help address that situation. Do our elderly residents have adequate alternatives for remaining in the community as they age? We have resources, but the trust could have an impact on all four of these questions that we currently don't have the agility necessary to address.
I
It's
think
exciting.
agility is the key thing in my mind is that, you know, we could address everything at town meeting once a year, but there's a lot of things that happen between annual town meetings that it really would help to have a trust able to raise money, go for grants, start programs. You know, as long as it's continues to remain aligned with what town meeting wants and the town, you know, votes on what we want it to do, I think that's of great benefit to the town. So you know, even you know, grants for educational programs about housing affordability, things, you know, things that, you know, are well outside the housing authorities portfolio. So I think that's definitely going to be a benefit to the town. I did see some concerns raised about making sure that town meetings still had, you know, direct input on what kind of projects would be taken on by the trust. And I think that's part of the discussion that we need to continue to have about what are the guardrails, what are the types of projects the town really wants to charter the trust to take on. So I think it's an ongoing discussion.
That's thinking out of the box, Chef.
Well, that's how we approach it. But at this stage, there's need for additional discussion because I think it was Rob said it. To get this right. We heard a lot. We learned a lot at last week's meeting. And if we can sit down in a room, we can come up with a real good answer to move forward. I'm excited about this thing, but again, I want to get it right, and we'll do it.
So because of these questions and questions that we've received from residents, I have asked Shelley Gehring from the Massachusetts Housing Partnership if she's able to do a public presentation on what an affordable housing trust is, why it could be beneficial for our town. She has aided a lot of municipalities in setting up an affordable housing trust. So she has volunteered to do a public presentation, and that will be on March 31st via Zoom. So I'll certainly publicize that through the town website and social media. And I would encourage residents, you know, who have questions about an affordable housing trust and what it might mean for our community to join that. She has a PowerPoint that she's going to give and then a question and answer session at the end. So I think it would be very beneficial for, you know, members of the community to join that.
Good. Anything further?
That's all I've got.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much for your hard work. We look forward to working with you as we bring this to town meeting.
You are most welcome. Thank you all.
Thanks, Chef.
So we have the next item under new business, the Nahant Fire Department fire staffing update and the fiscal year 27 budget request. Chief Antrim should be with us, I hope.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Rob, Patrick, and Jean. Before I get into the presentation, I didn't know if you wanted to go slightly out of order and handle the surplus items first, in case you have any questions about those.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Any objections? None? Okay. Let's do that then. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to declare the following items from the Nahant Fire Department as surplus and place the items on Munich bid for auction per MGL Chapter 30B procurement law. Following items are the 2014 Ford Interceptor vehicle, 3 industrial scientific 4 gas meters with charging and calibration base, 18 Scott self-contained breathing apparatus harnesses, 54 Scott SCBA cylinders, 15 sets of firefighter PPE, all were 2008 and older, 8 pairs of firefighting boots, and 7 firefighter helmets, which seems like we should be able to sell those on eBay, but nevertheless. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Pat O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye. Brings us back to Austin to talk about the fire staffing.
All right, thank you, Rob. Yeah, so I asked to be added to your agenda. I think it was over a month ago that Allison had presented the board with her budgets, one of which is for an override, $1 million override. The vast majority of which is to cover the cost of hiring 4 additional firefighters for the fire department. Since that time, I haven't been asked a single question about it from anyone in town. So I wanted an opportunity to sort of explain the need and the history of the staffing on the fire department, what we're facing today. And, you know, I really hope that this reaches as many residents as possible, whether they're joining us now or watch later on YouTube. I also think I saw an item reporter on there, so maybe something will make it into the item about this. So I know this is a monumental ask, asking for 4 additional personnel in the town of Nahant, where every department operates, you know, with less staffing than would be ideal. But in the fire department, our staffing model was created well over 100 years ago. It's barely been adjusted throughout the last 100 years, you know, with a couple exceptions. But the staffing model itself really is failing, not just in Nahant, but really nationwide. And so that's sort of what I want to address with my presentation. I'm going to switch over if I'm able to share the screen. And I'll try and be quick. It's kind of a lengthy slideshow, but I'll do my best to get through it quickly so I don't hold you up too long. I think someone has to allow permissions for screen sharing.
Yep, I'm doing that now.
Thank you.
I think I just did. Are you able to?
Yes, got it now. Thank you. Is everybody able to see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So I am using a lot of pictures here, photographs that are from the Nahant Historical Society. And if anyone has not spent time or is not a member of the Nahant Historical Society, I'd strongly encourage it. I have relied on them heavily for quite a bit of research, you know, for all kinds of things related to the fire department, particularly staffing. They have a collection of every Nahant annual report. I've read through almost all of them, at least all the fire department portions. But so my objectives today, I'd like to present an overview of the history of the staffing of the Nahant Fire Department, discuss the current staffing model and why it has failed, describe the nationally accepted standards for fire department staffing, demonstrate how the modern fire environment has changed and what the significant fire risk is in Nahant, and review some suggested changes to the staffing that would give the Nahant Fire Department the ability to comply with national standards and ensure that the department can handle the reality of what we're facing in terms of fire. I threw a few of these older pictures in. I think this is the only picture of the eagle out and about, actually moving around. This is from the late 1800s. It's being pulled by hand by East Point there, or sorry, 40 Steps. At the time, in the late 1800s, the fire department had 80 call firefighters, all of whom were Nahant residents. And they often couldn't obtain horses to get the apparatus to the scene, so they had to pull them by hand, which is why they had so many firefighters. Just a couple more pictures. This is one of the other apparatus called the Dexter. I just thought these were interesting pictures. Another one at the 40 Steps area, and then over here looking out with the wharf in the background. This was an editorial. The Historical Society had a copy of this. I sort of liked, I thought this was a funny descriptor of how the fire department operated in the late 1800s. Nahant had a field day on the 4th of July. There were pool, bowling, and tennis tournaments, besides a baseball game, and Admiral Koznikov with the officers of the Russian warship were in town. But the real sensation of the 4th, so far as it affected Nahant, was the fire. When there's a fire at Nahant, all hands with one accord, old and young, lame and blind, turn out and rush madly to the scene of action, there to do as much damage as they possibly can in the shortest time.
Things have changed since then.
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, sorry, I misspoke. There's another photograph of the eagle underway, under horsepower. And I think that might be a young Ed Staridi riding on board there. So these are two quotes from the original logbooks of one of the fire companies in Nahant. They both describe conflagrations that happened in Nahant in 1896 and 1897. They were the first 2 of 4 conflagrations to hit Nahant. May 18th, described as the greatest fire which ever visited Nahant at the time, with a probable loss $70,000 to $80,000. There was, I think, 5 houses destroyed. That occurred up in the area where Willow Road meets Pleasant Street. All of these fires, from my research, had one common factor, and that was a strong west or northwesterly wind, which we get quite frequently here in Nahant. The 1897 fire was in Bass Point. Well, all of the remaining conflagrations in Nahant occurred in Bass Point. This one also strong winds, destroyed 8 houses and damaged 5 others. This is essentially the fire department at the time. It had between 70 and 80 members, broken up into 5 different companies, operating out of 3 different firehouses, one in the old town hall, one in Nahant Road where the police station is now, and one at the bottom of Gardner Road where it intersects with Bass Point Road. After the two conflagrations, the fire department, or the Board of Fire Engineers, made the following request from the town. We would call to your attention the consideration of a change in part of the service, which we recommend, namely that the engineers be empowered to appoint 1 steward to have charge of all town property belonging to the fire department, also to act as electrician, giving his whole time to the duties in the place of 4 men, giving only part of their time under the present management. This would necessitate a larger appropriation, but we think it would be a saving to the town, as there would be so much more regularity in the care of the hose, which is very essential. He should have charge of hydrants and reservoirs, clear off snow, and keep the house and apparatus in first-class order. That request didn't come to fruition until 9 years later. The department the town hired their first full-time firefighter. His name is Lyman Waite. That's a photograph of him there with Nahant's first motorized apparatus. And that was the catalyst for hiring full-time firefighters. Initially in Nahant, motorized vehicles were very new, and there were not many people who could operate them or who had driver's licenses. So the first couple of full-time firefighters were hired just to get the motorized apparatus to the scene, and then the balance of part-time, who we call call firefighters, would arrive at the scene and do all the work to extinguish the fires. The full-time personnel would operate the pumps on the motorized apparatus. This is a photograph of the Nahant Fire Department on the side of the Nahant Public Library shortly after its construction in 1917. At the time, the department had 3 permanent firefighters and about 50 call firefighters. 1917, they're all dressed up here because they hosted the state firemen's convention at Nahant Town Hall. That year, the town of Nahant also approved commissioning a report to study the needs for fire protection in the town of Nahant. And that report was published in 1918. And from the report, the recommendations were to reorganize the fire department to consist of 5 permanent men, including a chief engineer and at least 30 call men, to staff the town hall station with 3 permanent men and 2 call men, and staff 2 permanent men and 2 call men at the Bass Point station. They also recommended discontinuing the truck house, which was the firehouse located on the Hot Road. Of those recommendations, they hired 1 additional full-time firefighter and they closed the truck house, but they did not increase the on-duty staffing as recommended. Also recommended in that report, it said it is obvious that the Bass Point region constitutes the most serious fire hazard and that the piping in this section is particularly inadequate. For that reason, the first improvement recommended, I misspelled that, is the replacement of the existing 6-inch and 4-inch pipes in Castle and Bass Point roads with 12-inch and 10-inch pipes. That recommendation was also not taken up by the town at the time. And from the 1924 annual report, fire department writes, "We have in the department 4 permanent men. We do not think the average citizen knows the hours they are on duty. We believe he should know. To begin with, these men are on duty 21 hours out of the 24. It is the only occupation that requires such continuous service. The 3 hours out of the 24 are for meals. Every 7th day, they have 24 hours off. In justice to these men, and in order to keep them mentally and physically efficient, they should have more time off." The following year, skipped over that. Following year was the worst fire in Nahant's history, the Bass Point conflagration, which occurred on June 11th, 1925. This fire began on Bayview Ave. Again, there was a strong northwesterly wind, which drove the fire, jumping from house to house along Bayview Ave and spreading to the homes on Castle Road. Then jumped across Gardner Road, burned houses on Colby Way, and started jumping from house to house down Tri Mountain Road. The water supply, because they had not addressed those water pipes as recommended in the 1918 report, the water supply was insufficient. They didn't have enough to charge even 2 hose lines. So 2 engine companies from Lynn set up hoses at the bottom of Tri Mountain Road, and there was a long pier there, and they had requested the Boston Fire Boat to respond, which it did, pumping ocean water into the hoses that Lynn had set up. And that's how they were finally able to stop the fire from destroying all of Bass Point. Following the fire, the town approved hiring a 5th permanent firefighter, and they made the water main improvements that had been recommended 7 years prior. This is a photograph of the department a few years after that fire. They had 5 permanent men. They were down to 20 call firefighters. And that is them at the rear of the new town hall. That was staffed as a fire station, and the Bass Point Fire Station remained. Both of those operated until the opening of the new firehouse where we're currently located, and they began occupying that building in 1952. From the 1962 annual report. In considering salary and wage scales, we ask that the voters bear in mind the continual rise in the cost of living and the need to attract capable people to municipal positions. It is also well to remember that in the final analysis, the success of any municipal project depends primarily on the personnel who do the job. I included that quote for that last line there. Obviously, new personnel are very expensive. They're the most costly portion of any budget. But they're also our most valuable resource. Without qualified, trained, and sufficient numbers of personnel on the fire department, there's no one to drive the apparatus, operate the apparatus, and operate all of the equipment. These are just some photographs from when the new Central Fire Station opened in 1952. Throughout the 1960s and the early 1970s, they were having a lot of trouble filling full-time positions on the fire department. In 1963, they had adopted a 48-hour work week to reduce the hours that the full-time personnel were working. So to accommodate that new reduced hour schedule, 3 additional full-time firefighters were approved. But the pay was so low that nobody was taking the civil service exam. So they went through a period of hiring Nahant residents as sort of provisional firefighters, and they would stay for a year or two and then leave. They went through at least 10 provisional firefighters during those years. But after that, in the 70s, the staffing sort of stabilized. They had 8 personnel full-time, I think 2 on duty at all times. And they were able to build a fairly decent call department consisting of all Nahant residents. This is just a picture of the fire station. Following the blizzard of 78, federal funding replaced all of the apparatus. You can see how much larger it is from the apparatus that existed when the fire station was built. They had to make significant modifications to the apparatus bays just to fit the new trucks in, including removing a number of support columns. In the early 1990s, Chief Ray Robideau retired. In 1982, Proposition 2.5 had been passed, and that began to put some financial pressures on municipalities. 1993, the Education Reform Act was passed, which mandated minimum school spending levels, which caused a financial crisis in many communities, including Nahant. Nahant voted to hire its first town manager to address a large budget deficit. They laid off DPW employees. They required concessions from the unions. They did not fill the full-time chief position. And they began to merge the police and the fire departments into a single public safety department and appointed the police chief as the new public safety director. That setup lasted less than 3 years. It was a contentious and fairly bitter time for the fire department and the town. And this is from the 1998 annual report. The Nahant Fire Department has continued to maintain a high level of professional competence throughout a turbulent reorganization of the public safety departments. The results of this reorganization was to do away with the chief of the department position and to lay off 3 of the 8 permanent firefighters, which were needed to maintain 2 firefighter EMTs on duty at all times. This was followed by moving the operations of the police department into an 800 square foot area occupied by the fire department and moving the fire personnel into a back room area of 200 square feet. I strongly recommend that every effort be made to bring the staffing levels back up to 2 firefighters on duty, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That was accomplished in 2001. The fire department was back to 8 full-time firefighters, and a couple of years later, that it contractually mandated that they have 2 on duty at all times. There's a young Rob Thibault over here. I like this photograph. It's when I joined the department as a call firefighter in 2004. It was kind of a great core of Nahant residents who had been call firefighters for a number of years. And as someone brand new in the fire service, they would hold meetings, hold regular trainings, and really act as mentors to new people coming on the department. One thing we recognized, myself and another member of the department, actually Rob's son, Jonathan, over 10 years ago, made a presentation to the finance committee because we had sort of recognized what was coming, and that was that this core of call firefighters who are Nahant residents were getting older, and we were not receiving applicants from Nahant to replace them. We knew a number of them would be forced to retire. You can only be when you reach the age of 65, you can no longer serve as a firefighter or a police officer in Massachusetts. So why is the current system failing? There's a well-documented nationwide decline in volunteerism. This is not unique to Nahant. I had a meeting last week where almost every department that utilizes part-time firefighters in Essex County was represented by their chiefs. And I had the opportunity to ask all of them what they're experiencing with their call departments. And every single one of them is experiencing the same thing. They're not getting enough applicants. The applicants that they are getting are generally not residents, or they are residents, but they're young, and their objective is to get their foot in the door so that they can get a full-time fire position somewhere, anywhere they can get it. For our open call firefighter positions, I receive applications on about a 4-to-1 ratio of non-residents to residents. We try and hire residents because our staffing model relies on the call firefighters who are not working shifts to drop what they're doing, respond to the station, put on the gear and staff apparatus anytime they're called out for an emergency. It also relies on the full-time staff when they're off duty to respond and staff the station and respond to emergency calls. The majority of applications I receive, I have to reject because they live too far away from Nahant. And like all the other communities are experiencing, the firefighters or the call firefighters we're hiring, they're trying to get their foot in the door so they can try and get a full-time job somewhere else. And a number of them are successful at that. When I was hired to the chief position in 2021, the department was down to its lowest number of call firefighters, active call firefighters ever, and we were down to 7. I made a commitment to do everything I could to make this combination staffing model continue. And every year I've tried to I budget for and try and hire 5 new call firefighters. That's the most that I can get into the fire academy, which is only held in this area once a year. The fire academy is 240 hours of training. It's held in Hamilton, and all the practical portions, live fire portions, are out in Stowe. The class is held on nights and weekends over a 5-month period, and we do not compensate our call firefighters for attending. We don't have that in the budget. Just to get a new hire for a call firefighter, everything they need to get into the academy. And then if they successfully pass the academy, we do reimburse them for mileage for their travel. That's a total cost of $10,000 between their personal protective equipment, pre-entry physical, and the mileage reimbursement if they successfully complete the academy, which we require for them to become a member of the department. I looked back over the last 15 years to document how many call firefighters we have had and what has happened to them all. So over the last 15 years, we've had nearly 50 call firefighters. We currently only have 14 active call firefighters. One of those, currently the longest serving person on the department, Dennis Ball, he's going to reach the maximum age limit, so he'll be retiring next month. Less than a year after that, Ed Streety will reach the age of 65, and he's also another longtime call member. He'll also have to retire. 9 of the 12 remaining call firefighters we have 2 years or less of experience. Several of them are likely to be hired by other departments in the coming year. 4 of our call firefighters were hired to fill full-time positions in Nahant. I am always thrilled when we can hire one of our call firefighters to a full-time position, because it takes that investment that the town has made in that part-time individual and secures them in a full-time position, because otherwise we tend to lose them. They lose interest and leave the department, or they get hired somewhere else. So 7 of our call firefighters were hired as full-time firefighters in other communities. 3 reached their maximum age limit. 7 resigned or were let go due to lack of participation, and 8 did not successfully complete the fire academy. 1 other moved out of state, 1 was medically retired, and 1 passed away. This slide gets a little challenging for me to talk about. This over the past 5 years, we've had this snowball effect of our full-time personnel getting injured and getting sick. In Massachusetts, there's a number of presumption bills. There's a heart and lung presumption bill for firefighters and a newer cancer presumption bill. So if you've been a firefighter for 5 years and you get cancer, it's presumed that it's job related. And that is due to a number of studies that have identified that firefighters are at a far greater risk of cancer due to the occupation. And part of that is from the personal protective equipment that firefighters wear when they're fighting fires. It's impregnated with PFAS chemicals. Massachusetts passed a law 2 years ago to make it illegal to sell PFAS impregnated personal protective equipment for firefighting by the year 2027. Manufacturers have been struggling to come up with new personal protective equipment that does not contain PFAS and that can stand up to the rigors of what's required firefighting gear. They've been having a lot of difficulty with that new gear lasting. Initially, they said it would only last 5 years, where the current gear lasts 10 years at least. And they actually sold, I believe it was Quincy, was one of the first departments to outfit their department with PFAS-free gear. They did their own independent testing and found that it actually had quite a bit of PFAS in it still. They also found that it would have critical failures without warning during use or during the cleaning process. So they ended up returning all of the gear. Some manufacturers have come up with alternatives. I haven't explored those too deeply yet, but it's something we're going to need to consider next year because a large portion of our gear will be reaching 10 years of age and will no longer be able to be used. But anyway, back to this slide. Over the past 5 years, we've had a significant amount of injuries and illness of the full-time staff. There were 3 months with 3 full-time employees out, 13 months with 2 full-time employees out, 31 months with 1 full-time employee out. 30 of those months were full-time employees out with an IOD, which is injured on duty, covered by 111F. 19 months, full-time employee out long-term medical, 10 months of full-time employees attending the fire academy. Whenever we have a full-time employee out, that shift has to be filled by the remaining healthy employees. So a firefighter schedule already exceeds what most people normally work in a work week. And then on top of that, we're adding, multiple 24-hour shifts for our personnel on top of the 24-hour shifts they're already working. And we're reliant on them to come back when they're off duty every time there's a medical or some other emergency to staff the station. And it's all of that combined that has sort of created the snowball effect, of just overburdening and overworking the personnel that we do have, who are our most valuable asset, and we're driving them into the ground. Our emergency call volume is increasing. This shows our call volume over the past 20 years. The biggest driver of that call volume increase is medical aid calls. The frequency in which we're getting multiple calls simultaneously has been increasing the past few years. Since July 1st, 2025, we've had 9 ocean rescue calls, 7 telephone alarms for structure fires, and 13 instances of simultaneous calls when the 2 on-duty firefighters are occupied and there's no one at the station unless someone came back at a callback to handle the additional call. So NFPA 1710 is a standard. The NFPA is the National Fire Protection Association. They've been in existence since the late 1800s. They write standards for firefighting, electrical safety, all kinds of things, all to do with keeping people safe. Their standards on firefighting are widely regarded as, they're written by professionals in the firefighting field. They're based on research, and NFPA 17 is their standard on staffing for full-time departments. So in NFPA 17, they base their initial full alarm assignment recommendation to a structure fire on a typical 2,000-foot square, 2-story single-family dwelling without a basement and with no exposures. And the recommended number of staff members on scene is 17 for that typical, what they call low hazard residential structure. Fire departments that respond to fires and occupancies that present greater hazards than the typical residential dwelling must deploy additional resources on the initial alarm. They want the initial fire engine with ideally 4 personnel on scene within 4 minutes, and the full initial alarm assembled in 8 minutes. And you may think 17 firefighters is excessive for a fire in a building that size, but firefighting is really like a team sport, a professional sport. There's a lot of tasks that have to happen. No firefighter can operate alone inside a building, so they operate in teams. The tasks that have to happen nearly simultaneously, and that's searching the structure, venting the hot gases and heat out of the structure, getting hose lines in place and applying water to the fire, obtaining a water supply, having a standby crew in case the firefighters themselves need to be rescued, and having EMS personnel on scene, in addition to having an incident commander organizing the fire attack and directing the operations. That typical 2,000-foot, two-story, single-family dwelling with no basement and no exposures is almost non-existent in the town of Nahant. It represents less than 3% of our structures. Most of Nahant's structures are medium to high hazard due to their size, close proximity to neighboring structures, and the potential for loss of life. Nahant has a high potential for serious fires, including conflagrations to this day due to densely packed neighborhoods with modern fuels and frequent exposure to high winds. Whoops, that was a duplicate slide there, sorry. Another fun fact about Nahant, it's the smallest of, by land area, the smallest of 351 municipalities, yet it ranks around number 33 for the highest population density. And the population density of Fall River is 2,878, which is less than Nahant's population density. Densely packed neighborhoods, modern, yeah, I already covered that one. So modern fuels, I mentioned that. Over the past 15 years, there's been a federally funded grant program to provide funding for organizations to conduct research, to try and determine safer firefighting tactics, safer firefighting gear, and to assist in investigating firefighter injury and death. As part of those studies, Underwriter Laboratories Fire Safety Research Institute, known as FSRI, National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, they partner together frequently, conduct live fire training in partnerships with fire departments. They fill buildings, structures, either acquired structures, and they have their own facility, indoor facility, where they have a full-scale house that they conduct live fire testing in. They set up sensors all over the buildings to record things like, well, mostly temperature and temperature differences to see the effects of different activities of the firefighters, such as ventilating, applying water in different ways from the interior and the exterior. And the amount of information that they produced from all of this research has really, one, it's verified the standards put out by NFPA. They conducted research on the effectiveness of different crew sizes and found that 4-person crews are 30% more efficient at completing tasks than 3-person crews. And again, Nahant staffs the town with only 2 firefighters on duty at any time. As part of their research, they compared home furnishings, and this is where the modern fuel comes into play. So in 1970 and prior, home furnishings were made of natural materials like cotton, wool, wood, and metal. And they did these over and over again. They had these fires. They'd set up a room with what they call legacy furnishings, and then another identical room with similar furnishings, but made in modern days, which are all made of synthetic materials, which are derivatives of petroleum products. What they found was that over and over again through these experiments, the natural legacy furnishings take about 30 minutes for the room to reach flashover. The synthetic materials reach flashover in under 5 minutes. So responding to modern fires, they're finding that the fire has grown significant to the point of flashover, which means that everything in the room reaches its ignition temperature along with the gases that have been given off by the fire. Nobody can survive a flashover. Flashovers are occurring before the fire department even arrives on scene. Also contributing to the modern fire danger is the size of homes, the design of homes. Homes in the past were small and compartmentalized, a lot of, small rooms with one door, one window that could be closed off. Modern homes have open floor plans, taller ceilings, all of that fuels fire because fire needs oxygen to grow. In the older homes that are compartmentalized, a fire would grow until it was limited by the oxygen it had available, and then it would smolder. And when the firefighters arrived, they were able to extinguish it fairly quickly. With larger homes that are open and have far more volume of air to feed the fire, it's allowing for rapid fire growth before the fire department even arrives. That results in far less time for civilians to get out of the house. And it requires a very careful, coordinated fire attack to bring the fire under control. That requires having sufficient trained personnel on scene. Additionally, houses are being built of new construction materials like engineered lumber, which is just a way of saying basically particles of wood that are pressed and glued together. NIST and UL have tested new building products extensively. They found that products such as laminated I-beams that are often used as floor joist systems, they fail in 5 to 10 minutes under flame impingement, whereas traditional dimensional lumber can last hours under flame impingement. So there are countless documented cases of fire department arriving on scene, trying to advance a hose line in the front door and falling right into the basement because the floor system has already collapsed prior to their arrival. So what is the appropriate fire department staffing for Nahant? The ideal staffing would be double the current full-time staffing that we have. That would allow for 4 firefighters on duty at all times. It would also allow for a daytime deputy fire chief who would be responsible for fire prevention activities, and then on the evenings, split the time with the fire chief responding to emergencies to take incident command. Fire prevention activities take up about 60 to 70% of my time currently. We do have a designated fire prevention officer, but he works 24-hour shifts on a rotating schedule like all of our other full-time personnel. So it's just not feasible, for that individual to handle the demands that code compliance and permitting require, which is expanding every year, as new technology outpaces code and code tries to keep up, such as energy storage systems and other things like that. What I proposed in my initial budget was not for doubling the size of the fire department staffing because the town just does not have that capacity. So we tried to get creative on how we can come as close as possible to achieving sufficient staffing without completely abandoning the part-time call system and putting an undue tax burden on the residents. So what I had proposed was the addition of 4 firefighters, which would provide 3 firefighters on duty at all times. Those firefighters would be supplemented by per diem firefighters. Of all those departments that still utilize part-time personnel in Essex County, the majority are switching over to more full-time personnel. And instead of having call firefighters just respond when a call comes in, they're scheduling them for shifts as per diem employees. I like that idea because that would give me the ability to hire those applicants I get that live outside of, a reasonable response radius. We could hire them, train them, and if we had the funding, schedule them on shifts. And we need sufficient numbers to have them so for example, Middleton does this, and they require their per diem firefighters to work at least one 24-hour shift a month. And that way you sort of don't trip the requirement to produce or provide, health benefits and other benefits. You don't trigger that more than 20-hour a week average by limiting them to just one 24-hour shift a month. I'm just going to back up a little bit. Well, I'll escape this. Thank you. So, yeah, of those other departments I was talking about in throughout Essex County, the majority of them have already added more full-time personnel. Last year, Rowley passed an override. They added eight additional firefighters to their department. Georgetown passed an override, adding 3 additional personnel to their fire department. Topsfield, Linfield, Merrimack, Manchester, all of them have added or are in the process of adding full-time staffing. And that's all because of increased demand and the collapse of the sort of call system nationwide. So that's sort of where we stand. I really believe this needs to happen as quickly as possible because it takes a long time to get firefighters up to speed and adequately trained. Using our old staffing model before we allowed or had the funding for call firefighters to work shifts, even after they complete the academy, it would take about 3 years before they could really operate independently at a fire scene. It takes a long time. The fire academy does not train them to drive the fire apparatus or operate the fire pump, or at least the part-time academy doesn't. So we have to complete that training in-house again, which is very difficult with limited staffing. 2 years ago, we did start a pilot program to have our call firefighters have the option to work a 10-hour shift on weekends. We conducted that for about 2 months a couple of years ago, and it was very successful. The full-time staff embraced it. They worked with the call firefighters who were working shifts, provided training for them. It rapidly accelerated their training and their competency levels. It also, having a third firefighter on duty every time the ambulance leaves to transport someone to the hospital, which happens about 350 times a year. So almost once a day, although it doesn't work out that cleanly. So right now, when the 2 on-duty firefighters transport someone to the hospital, we put out a call for off-duty firefighters to respond and staff the station. But there's no guarantee that we get people. And if there's another call for a fire, again, we're just hoping that some of our call firefighters and off-duty firefighters are available to drop what they're doing and come and show up. But that system has an inherent delay built into it. Of the fires we've had over the past 5 years, with the on-duty crew on scene, it takes typically about 8 to 10 minutes for us to get the second due apparatus on scene. That might show up with 1 or 2 or maybe 3 people. We're just leaving our personnel in massive danger for far too long, and it really should change. And I'm advocating for this change now, so I'm not back here asking for this after a tragedy has occurred. In the override that is presented, the funding, I had to make a decision. of course, all departments have a lot of requests, and Allison had to balance those requests versus what she believed might have a chance of passing for an override. So the additional funds for call firefighter shifts and a pay increase for the call firefighters was cut out of that budget. So all it includes is 4 additional full-time personnel. And while that doesn't achieve, where I think we need to be, it is absolutely a help and would make a major difference in the safety of our firefighters and the residents, and move us in the right direction at having a chance of accomplishing, what our purpose for existing is, and that's stopping fires in Nahant. I really hope that I can gain your support and gain the support of the residents. I know it's a big ask to ask people to voluntarily raise their taxes, particularly now. It's not a good time financially for anybody. There's a lot of pressures from a lot of different areas. But I really feel the problems being caused by the chronic understaffing in the long term is far costlier than it is adding 4 more additional firefighters. So that is the end of this presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Floor is open. Pat, Gene, anything?
Yeah, I was going through Google looking for the average number of firefighters in a typical house. And the National Firefighters Association says that there should be 1 fireman for every 1,000 residents, and there should always be 3 minimum and 4 on a fire truck. And I think about Nahant, and we all think about Nahant, and you see that fire engine go by or that ambulance go by, and there go 2 of a full staff. Who's left over at the firehouse, Chief?
Nobody. During the day, it's just myself and 2 firefighters. And when we get a call, we just hope that other members of the department have the ability to show up. But, this isn't 1970 anymore. There are not as many people working in Nahant. So people being available during the day is a significant problem for the department. Additionally, people just value their time. They're far busier. Kids are in far more organized activities than they were 30 years ago. And there's a lot of, parents have to drive children all over the place for those activities. So people just aren't available. They're not showing up for calls. So we're at a point where we have a very young, inexperienced call department that, despite my efforts to try and hire 5 every year, it's, we're barely keeping, 10 to 12 firefighters, and they're not consistently showing up to calls when we need them. They did respond very well to the shifts, working shifts, and I'd, at some point in the future, like to get more funding to be able to expand those shifts for the call firefighters. Right now, this year we had funding for 3 10-hour shifts a week. I would like to expand that to have funding for 4 24-hour shifts a week for the call firefighters, so that on, the weekend days are typically have less people available, days and nights, and our call volume tends to be a little busier on weekends.
Well, I clearly see your needs, and as you said, sooner than later, we want to avoid or avert any kind of a tragedy. And what you're doing with what you've got now is commendable to begin with.
Thank you, Gene.
Well, you certainly have my support, Austin. I can remember more than several occasions when things looked a little tight. We needed more help, and all we could do was hope that it got there in time. So you'll never hear an argument from me as far as trying to make this adjustment. And I just hope that the town can somehow fit this in because it's as you point out, it's not just your ability to rescue a resident or an individual in distress. It's also protecting your firefighters at the same time. You don't want them going in under-equipped. You don't want to be undermanned. That's how accidents happen. That's how people get hurt. And so I think that your request obviously is very, very much warranted.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, just a comment on that. And for those who don't know who's on here, Rob was a longtime call firefighter. He's one of the founding members of Nahant's Ocean Rescue Team. Earlier in my career, when I was working the 24-hour shifts, I knew if we got a fire call, Dennis Ball would come across the street within a matter of seconds, and he was quickly followed by Rob Thibault, who would show up. And I was always happy to see Rob because he was very reliable at securing a hydrant and securing a water supply if we needed it. Among other skills, but I could always trust him to get us water when we needed it.
That's very kind of you. I'm already on your side, so we
I know. Well, yeah, never mind. I had another point in there somewhere that I hadn't touched on, but I lost it again.
No, your point has been well made, and I don't know what other venues we might be able to use in order to get this out. The good news is that we are live streaming. We do have opportunities for people to see this and other portions of this meeting, and I hope that that residents will follow up with that.
Thank you.
The chief will also, both chiefs actually will be presenting to the finance committee tomorrow night their FY27 budgets.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chief. I just wanted to concur with my colleagues and yourself, and thank you very much for putting this presentation together. I think it's important to hear not just what the numbers, what the numbers are, but what the numbers mean for the town and how this will affect our safety in town. And you always get me with the picture of my neighborhood burned down. So I think that was actually taken. The one on the left there was taken from where my house sits now. So
I thought about mentioning that, Pat. It's
I didn't want to interrupt.
That's all right. Yeah, you're kind of king of Colby Hill there, and so keep your head in a swivel up there on windy days.
If I see anything else, I'll definitely call it in.
Well, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you, Austin. We're 2 hours into this now, and we still have a ways to go. Would a 5-minute recess be appropriate, do you think? No, want to keep going?
I could go either way. Gene, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say keep going.
Keep going it is. Okay. So let's see. We've already approved the Easter egg hunt. We voted the schedule for town meeting. We have now under a vote to approve language for a ballot question to change the town charter. And I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the following language for the ballot question to change the town charter. Shall the town of Nahant approve the charter amendment proposed by the 2026 annual town meeting summarized below? A yes vote will amend the town charter by replacing all references to Board of Selectmen or selectmen with the words select board or take any other action relative thereto. A no vote will leave the town charter the same. Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry,
Discussion?
just to clarify, that should say the 2025 annual town meeting.
Okay.
We haven't had our 2026 town meeting yet.
No, you're right. I should have caught that. Thank you. Yeah, so discussion? Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Ed O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye. Motion carries. We have a vote to approve an employment contract for our new town finance director. And I will move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve this and sign the employment contract for the new finance director, Edmund Locke, with a term beginning February 16th, 2026 to June 30th, 2029. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Ed O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Ed. We have a vote to appoint new Veterans Service Officer. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Robert Fields as the Veterans Service Officer effective March 23rd, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Another great choice.
I think he's an excellent choice. I agree.
And he's also on the call here.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob, do you want to say hello?
I can, yeah, okay. I guess I wanted to make sure I was off mute. You can hear me okay. So yeah, I'm traveling today. I'm really excited for this opportunity. Really appreciate Allison and Rob for the interview and the selectmen and all of the community that has supported me, not only in this nomination, but also, as, an active veteran in the community. And I really look forward to taking my service to them on behalf of the community and bringing the community together to just to another level. So I thank you all.
We look forward to working with you, Bob. Don't ever be a stranger. If you need something, let us know.
Careful what you wish for.
We have a second and some discussion. So roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Ed O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bob. Next, we have a vote to appoint a Conservation Commission member. And I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the appointment of Peter Zink as a member of the Conservation Commission effective March 18th, 2026, with a term expiring June 30th, 2029. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Discussion.
Mr. Zink's also on the call tonight. Thank you for your patience, Peter, and this long agenda. I've seen you on there for a while now.
No problem. My pleasure. Nice to hear
Peter, you want to come on and say hi? There we go.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. And yes, I'd be honored to serve on the Conservation Commission and put my energy into helping to preserve Nahant's wetlands and other conservation areas.
I'll toss in that I got to know Peter a few years ago. He has a boat down the wharf, and he demonstrates his sincerity as far as conservation is concerned. He took out a gasoline engine and put in an electric motor. He's got solar panels on it. So to me, that's a person who's heading in the right direction, and I know that he will be very diligent in getting the decisions right. So I look forward to having him on the Conservation Commission. Anyone else? Okay, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Ed O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibbo, aye. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
We have an Arbor Day proclamation, which I shall now read in full. Whereas, okay, this is official proclamation, Tree City, USA. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Robert Thibault, Board of Selectmen Chairman of the Town of Nahant, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 24th, 2026, as Arbor Day in Nahant, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees, woodlands, and further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated this 18th day of March 2026, signed Robert Thibault.
Second,
Any
I don't-
discussion?
I don't know.
I don't
Does
know if
this
we needed a
require
vote. Yeah, well, yeah, that was just a reading the proclamation. So I think we're good.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Our,
Sense your enthusiasm, Gene.
But thank you for yeah, thank you for the second.
you're here.
Okay, so we have ongoing business, which is a discussion and review, Bayside DBA Victoria Hall Bayside liquor license. We should have everyone in the room with us tonight, hopefully. They all received invitations. I think that I would like to hear from the police chief with respect to his thoughts on any changes. I know he gave them a strong endorsement last time. Have there been any changes in the last 60 days?
Good evening, thank you. Let me just get my camera, I have my phone upside down, sorry. Yeah, so Allison asked me for the calls for service to the Bayside from, I believe it's December 18th to present when she asked me. There were about 109 calls, only 2 of which were quote unquote disturbances. One was a disturbance and one was a motor vehicle stop. Aside from that, they've been nothing but great partners to us, gone above and beyond what they need to do to try to contain their issues, quote unquote issues that they're having.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chief. Anything further from Selectmen?
Sure. I just wanted to say I think I fully understand and appreciate the concerns raised by our neighbors about noise and parking. These are legitimate quality of life issues, and I empathize with frustration they cause. At the same time, the function hall has operated successfully in Nahant for decades without significant documented violations or objective evidence that its liquor licenses worsens these challenges. So absent clear substantiated reasons tied directly to the liquor license that would justify revocation or major restrictions, I'm not inclined to shut down a longstanding local business. So I would encourage continued dialogue, mitigation measures that have already been suggested and enacted, sound management, parking coordination, And, we should continue to monitor to address the neighbors' concerns constructively. That said,
That's well said.
Very well
Perfect.
said. I agree. Gene, any thoughts?
No, just to parrot what Pat just said, and if we need to deal with it in the future, we deal with it. Well, you deal with it.
Well, we'll let the police deal with it first, at least in my opinion. Okay, well, we'll move on. Next, we have a vote to approve the Board of Selectmen omnibus budget and send it to the Advisory and Finance Committee.
So there's no changes that have been
No.
presented, so we don't have to vote on this.
We can kick that one aside, okay?
Mhm.
How about, let's see, a vote to open and close the annual town meeting warrant and send it to the Advisory and Finance Committee. In that, I will move that the annual town meeting warrant be opened. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, so I've asked for the warrant to be reopened. One is to include the CPC grant recommendations. The CPC has been meeting diligently every Monday night to go through their applications, and they've approved all of the applications, and they've written the articles. So I've incorporated those into a new draft of the warrant that I've sent to each of you for your review. So that is under Article 18. I can share my screen as well if you'd like to see it up there. So it's Article 18, and the grant recommendations are A through K. And so this is just, this article language was voted on by the CPC at their meeting this past Monday. So the other addition that I wanted to bring up is under Article 19 to amend the general bylaws. I've added in a change to Section 1. So after further discussion with the town clerk, last time we met, our proposal was to move the annual town election to after town meeting date. And so we had put on the table moving the annual town election to the second Tuesday of June. The town clerk spoke with, other town clerks in the area and her peers, and they all said June is a terrible time to have an election. After Memorial Day, people are taking off for vacation, school is coming to an end, there's graduations, graduation parties, etc. So Diane, our town clerk, came back and made a second recommendation, and that was to move our current town meeting up by 1 week. So then we can have an annual town election after that, but it would still be in May. So under Article 19 in the current draft of the warrant, I've added in a change to Section 1 of the general bylaws. It would change town meeting from the third Saturday in May to the second Saturday in May each year. So that's what is proposed in Section 1. In Section 2, the former, as I mentioned, the former draft of the warrant had changed the annual town election to the second Tuesday in June. I'm now proposing to change that to the third Tuesday of May. Again, I do think that this is an important change. I think it makes sense to have a town election after annual town meeting, so that anything that was voted on at town meeting and has to go to ballot can go to that election immediately thereafter. Whereas now, since we have our election before town meeting, anything decided at town meeting, we have to wait almost a whole year to go to ballot. And that's proven by one of the items that you discussed earlier, was the change in the terminology of Board of Selectmen to Select Board. That was voted at last year's town meeting, and now it will be on the ballot for this April. So I do think that this makes sense, and I wanted to present it as part of the warrant and allow residents to vote on it. The other thing that I had added and I had circulated to you was I updated the language for Article 21, the wireless communication zoning bylaw, to what the last draft that Sheila had sent to me. However, in meeting with the planning board tonight, I understand they're going to be sending me a final draft of that language tomorrow, along with the changes to the bylaw. So we're going to hold off on this, reviewing this right now, and I'll present it at the April 1st next select board meeting. So it's really just those two changes. It's the CPC articles, and then the change under Article 19 to the date of town meeting and the date of annual town election.
Okay. And that's it?
Yes, that's all. Yep.
All right, very good. Then I will move that the annual town meeting warrant be closed.
Seconded.
Discussion? Roll call vote?
Gene Canty, aye.
Todd O'Reilly, aye.
And Rob Tibble, aye.
And so now what I'll do is I just share the updated town meeting warrant with the finance committee. And as I mentioned before, they are meeting tomorrow. So I'll make sure that they understand the changes to the warrant as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Allison.
And if I could just, I know there are some people that don't understand why we would want to have, because I've seen it, I've been asked it, why we would want to change the election to after the town meeting. And then, as Allison said, there was one last year. In the last 3 years, we have had a vote to change the charter at the town meeting, and then we weren't able to vote on it because you have to do a ballot vote on any charter change for the following year. So those are the things that need to be voted on both at town meeting and by ballot. So it makes more sense to have the town elections after the town meeting.
And in looking at a lot of the municipalities, particularly near us, that is how most of them do that. I think there were a few that still had their town election first, but the majority, I would say, do it in that order: town meeting first and then the election.
I personally think it makes tremendous sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. Town administrator report?
So I don't have much because this has been a very long meeting, and I know everybody's very tired.
We've been busy.
So I just had two things that I wanted to update you on. Let me just find my notes. Okay. So I did want to make everybody aware that Context Architecture, who the town hired to conduct the public safety building feasibility study, is going to make a presentation on its results. It'll be at a Board of Selectmen meeting that will take place on April 8th at 6:30. It's an in-person meeting, so technically it'll be hybrid. So residents can come if they want to hear, they can hear in person. There'll also be a Zoom option available, but Context will be here in person to present to the board the findings of the feasibility study. I also just wanted to let everybody know that the MBTA reached out to me again, asking if the town would be interested in hosting an open house regarding the Linway Multimodal Corridor project. As you remember, we did host an open house several months ago now, and we had quite a few individuals turn out to give feedback on the plans for the redesign of the Linway. So the MBTA reached out asking if we'd want to host again. I said yes, because I think it's an opportunity, for residents to see what the plans are and to provide feedback. So right now that open house is tentatively scheduled for May 19th. from 5:30 to 7:30. They're going to confirm that with me, and I will post once that it's finalized, but I just wanted to make everyone aware that the MBTA is coming back. They want to share the design concept and they want to solicit feedback. Those were the only two things that I have to update you on.
Very good, thank you. That brings us to citizens' comment. If you have a question, please raise your hand. It looks like we have Maureen DeCenzo. Maureen, come on and let us know your address and everything and bring your question.
Okay, hello, thank you. Maureen DeCenzo, 29 Range Road. I do live adjacent to the Bayside, and we've lived here for 30 years. And well, as you know, there's been different operators there over that time. And now I feel they're done with it. Oh, are we still talking about this?
You can make a comment.
You can make a comment, sure.
Oh, great, thank you. I just never followed up from the previous meeting with a letter, so I just wanted to put my comments out there. In previous years, I would say that the parties have run very late and been very rambunctious out in the parking lot at midnight. I don't know if there was a time limit at that point, but the last few years it's been more quiet and tolerable. We have to remember we do live adjacent to a business. There's not, this isn't the quiet side of town. We live over a parking lot, really. So if that's probably not going to change, that building's going to be there. There's going to be a business in that building no matter what happens. So what else did I want to say? So I think it's been better than it has been in the past. And they used to be really rambunctious when they came out at midnight from those parties. So, and they seem like they get finished earlier now. So that's pretty much it.
All right, Maureen, thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.
Okay, not seeing anything else. So motion to adjourn.
So made.
Roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Pat O'Reilly, aye.
Rob Tibbo, aye. Thank you all, and good night.
Night.
Good night.